3:02 a.m. 3 slow taps on my front door. I woke up to the sound, my heart already racing. Tap, tap, tap. Not loud, not rushed, just deliberate, like someone trying to remind me they were still there. But here's the problem that made my blood run cold. The man who always knocked like that, my next-door neighbor, died last week. I stared at the door. The peephole fogged over like someone was breathing directly against it. Another tap came closer, lower, almost inside. Something dead was standing on the other side of my door, and it knew exactly what time to come back. Let me explain how this started so you understand why I'm so terrified. Let me tell you about Mr. Calloway first so you understand why this scared me so much. He wasn't a friendly man, but he was predictable. Every time he needed help carrying his groceries up the stairs, he would knock 3 times on my door. When his television remote went missing, 3 knocks. When he locked himself out, 3 knocks. Always 3. Always the same rhythm. Last Wednesday, I stood at his funeral and watched his casket lower into the ground. His wife, Mrs. Calloway, cried so hard her voice cracked and broke. She leaned over the grave and whispered something I couldn't quite hear at first. "Please, let him rest." I didn't understand what she meant until later that night when the hallway outside my door went completely silent. Too silent. Like all the normal sounds of the building had been sucked away. Then I felt it. A cold breath pressed through the wood of my door, sliding underneath the crack at the bottom. And a whisper came with it, soft and broken. "Nightveil." My name. Whispered my name. I couldn't just sit there. Had to look. I walked slowly to my door, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I pressed my eye against the peephole, expecting to see someone playing a cruel prank. But the hallway was completely empty. The old yellow light bulbs hummed faintly above the apartment doors, casting shadows down the corridor. But the bulb over Mr. Calloway's door flickered once, twice, then died completely. It was the same light that went out the night the ambulance came to take his body away. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to step back, lock the door, and pretend nothing had happened. But then the fog on the peephole cleared suddenly, all at once, as if someone had just stepped away from the door. Something had been standing there, right there, breathing on my door, watching me through the peephole. The next morning I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what was happening. I went next door and knocked on Mrs. Calloway's apartment. She opened the door slowly, her eyes swollen and red from crying. Dark circles were painted beneath them like bruises. When I mentioned the knocking at 3 a.m., I expected her to look confused or worried. But she didn't look surprised at all. Instead, she grabbed my wrist tightly, her fingers cold and trembling. "Don't open the door," she warned me, her voice shaking. "No matter what you hear, no matter what it sounds like, don't open it." Her hand was trembling so badly I could feel it through my whole arm. "He knocked for me too," she whispered, looking over her shoulder like something might be listening. "Every night since he died. But it wasn't him. Not anymore." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Then what was it? Mrs. Calloway took a long, shaky breath. Her eyes filled with tears again. "He was trying to warn me," she said quietly. He's trying to warn you too. That night, I decided I needed proof. I couldn't keep living like this, jumping at every sound. I set my phone to record audio and placed it near the door before I went to bed. If something knocked again, I would have evidence. I would know I wasn't losing my mind. At exactly 3:01 a.m., I woke up to a strange sound. Static was building up on my phone's recording. A faint humming filled the air like electricity running through the walls. Then a low vibration that I could feel in my chest. At 3:02, the knocking returned. Tap, tap, tap. Same rhythm. Same pattern. I didn't move. I just listened, my blankets pulled up to my chin, waiting for it to stop. When morning came, I played back the recording with shaking hands. The knocking was there, clear as day. But underneath the 3 taps, there was something else. A second pattern of knocking hidden beneath the first. This one was heavier, faster, more urgent. Like something was trying to get through Mr. Calloway to reach my door. Then at the very end of the recording, I heard a long dragging sound. Something being pulled across the floor. Inside my apartment. Behind me while I slept. I sat frozen on my bed staring at my phone. The recording kept playing. Slow, scraping footsteps moved through my living room in the middle of the night while I was asleep. These weren't careful footsteps. They weren't human footsteps. It was a dragging limp, like something was pulling its weight unevenly across my floor, struggling to move. The footsteps on the recording stopped right outside my bedroom door. Then my phone buzzed in my hand, making me jump. A voicemail notification appeared on the screen. From Mr. Calloway's number. That was impossible. His phone was disconnected. He was dead. My finger trembled as I pressed play. Breathing. Heavy static. Then a voice, distant and broken. Nightveil. Don't let it in. The voicemail ended. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I had to check my bedroom. I had to know if something had really been in there. I opened my bedroom door slowly, my heart hammering in my chest. Nothing. The room looked normal. My bed was still messy from sleeping. My closet door was closed. But then I saw them. A pair of men's shoes sitting beside my bed. Old black dress shoes, worn around the edges and scuffed on the toes. Mr. Calloway's shoes. The same ones I saw at his funeral. The same ones that had been placed beside his casket before they closed it. My throat tightened. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. Before I could do anything, my phone buzzed again in my pocket. Another voicemail. Another message from a dead man's phone. This time all it said was, "It's close." I called the police immediately. 2 officers came to my apartment and checked every room, every corner, every closet. They looked under my bed, behind my furniture, inside my cabinets. Nothing. They found nothing. Until one of the officers walked back into my bedroom and saw the shoes. "Ma'am, why are these wet?" "What?" I hadn't noticed before. I stepped closer and touched one of the shoes carefully. It was cold, damp. The leather was soaked through like the shoes had been underwater. The officers exchanged confused glances, but they couldn't explain it. They didn't know what to say. "It's probably just a prank," one of them muttered, but he didn't sound convinced. Maybe someone broke in as a joke. But pranks don't leave wet funeral shoes beside your bed. And pranks don't whisper your name through the cracks in your door at 3 a.m. That same day I went to the store and bought a door camera. A good one with night vision and motion detection. If anything came back at 3 a.m. I would see it. I would finally know what was standing outside my door. I installed it carefully, making sure the angle covered the entire hallway. Then I went to bed, my phone on my nightstand with the camera app open. At exactly 3:02 a.m. my phone pinged loudly. Motion detected. My heart felt like it was trying to escape from my chest. My hands were sweating as I opened the live feed from the camera. The hallway was empty, silent, completely still. But then the screen glitched. The image flickered and distorted like a corrupted video file. For just a second I saw something. A tall, dark silhouette standing in the hallway. It flickered in and out of view, appearing and disappearing like a broken television signal. It wasn't Mr. Calloway. There's something wrong. Something that didn't belong in this world. And there was something else behind it. I stared at my phone screen, my blood turning to ice. The shape behind the flickering figure wasn't standing. It was crawling. It dragged itself along the wall, its limbs too long, its body too wet, leaving dark streaks on the wallpaper. At exactly 3:02 a.m. both figures shifted on the camera. The tall one snapped its head toward my door. Not its body, just its head. It twisted too far at a sickening angle that no human neck could ever bend. Then it happened. Knock, knock, knock. Right on time. Same rhythm. Same pattern. But now I knew the truth. Mr. Calloway was knocking to warn me. The thing behind him was what he was warning me about. The next morning, I ran back to Mrs. Calloway's apartment. I pounded on her door until she opened it. What followed him? I demanded, my voice shaking. What is that thing? She looked at me with tired, frightened eyes. Then she closed them and sighed. He saw something at the lake, she said quietly. Something that climbed out of the water one night when he was fishing. It touched him, and after that it never stopped following. I felt sick to my stomach. It wants a host, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. It needs someone to open a door. Any door. That's how it gets inside. I remembered the dragging sounds in my apartment. The footsteps. The wet shoes by my bed. And if I don't open the door? I asked, my voice trembling. Mrs. Calloway looked at me with hollow eyes. It waits, she said, and it learns. Mrs. Calloway walked to a drawer and pulled out a photograph. Her hands shook as she handed it to me. The photo showed Mr. Calloway standing at the edge of a lake. He was smiling, holding up a fish he'd caught. But behind him in the water there was something else. A tall, thin silhouette, barely visible above the surface. Its head was tilted at a strange angle and it was watching him. The worst part was the reflection. The thing's reflection in the water didn't match its shape above the surface. It was all wrong, distorted, like the water was showing its true form. I felt all the air leave my lungs. This thing killed him? I whispered. No, Mrs. Calloway said, shaking her head. It didn't kill him. It poisoned him. It attached itself to him like a disease. I stared at the photograph, my hands trembling. "And now," she said quietly, "it's looking for the next one." That night something changed. The knocking didn't come at 3 a.m. Instead I heard scratching. Not at the door. Inside the walls. Slow, deliberate drags like fingernails tracing the outline of my bedroom, following the path of the studs behind the drywall. I pressed my ear against the wall, barely breathing. The scratching followed my movement. Wherever I moved, it moved with me. Then I realized something horrible. It was mirroring my breathing. Every time I inhaled, I heard a soft scraping. Every time I exhaled, the scratching paused. It was trying to sync itself with me, trying to match my rhythm. I stepped away from the wall quickly, my heart racing. Then it came. Through the wall. The same pattern. But this time it wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from inside my walls. My phone rang suddenly, the sound cutting through the silence like a knife. Unknown number. I answered with trembling hands, pressing the phone to my ear. Nightveil. Mr. Calloway's voice. Clear. Desperate. Urgent. You need to leave, he said quickly. Right now. Don't wait. I don't understand, I started to say. It's slipping through the cracks, he interrupted me. It hides in the thin parts of the world, the places where things don't fit together properly. Static began to warp his voice, making it sound broken and far away. It wants inside. It wants. The call dropped suddenly, and then the walls around me groaned like the building itself was bending under some terrible weight. A wet, dragging sound filled my hallway. I turned slowly, afraid of what I would see. Something was pressing against the wall from the other side. I could see the wallpaper bulging inward like fingers pushing through fabric. Then it came through. A tall, dripping shadow emerged from the wall like it was made of smoke. Its arms hung down like ropes too long for its body. Its fingers looked like claws that were melting into the drywall, leaving wet marks. Its face was wrong. Completely wrong. No eyes. No mouth. No nose. Just dents and hollows where features should have been. It looked like something had tried to copy a human face from memory but had failed completely. Then its jaw cracked open sideways, splitting its face in half. Nightveil. My name came out in a wet, broken whisper. I watched in horror as the creature's skin began to ripple and shift. It was changing, rearranging itself. Slowly it began forming a face. Features appeared in the smooth surface like clay being molded. Mr. Calloway's face. But it was distorted, stretched too tight over the wrong shape. The eyes were too far apart. The mouth was too wide. It was broken. Wrong. A terrible copy. The creature stepped forward and its limbs bent at impossible angles. Its knees bent backward. Its elbows twisted in directions they shouldn't go. Behind me, my door suddenly shook violently. The knocking returned, but this time it was desperate. Fast. Urgent. Tap, 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 tap. The creature with Mr. Calloway's broken face recoiled from the sound, shrinking back like the knocking hurt it. He was protecting me. The real Mr. Calloway's ghost was trying to keep it away. The knocking grew louder, faster, more frantic. It sounded like someone was pounding on the door with both fists. "Mr. Calloway, what do I do?" I whispered, my voice breaking. Silence. The knocking stopped. Then his voice brushed against the wood of the door, soft and clear. "Run." Before I could move, I felt something cold wrap around my ankle. I screamed. The creature's arm had stretched across the room like liquid shadow, reaching impossibly far. Its fingers were wrapped around my leg, cold and wet. It was trying to pull me toward it, trying to drag me in. I kicked as hard as I could, feeling the cold fingers slip from my ankle. I grabbed my keys from the table and yanked the door open with all my strength. For just a split second, Mr. Calloway stood there in the hallway. He looked whole, solid, almost alive. His eyes locked onto mine, and I saw sadness and determination in them. Then his body dissolved into mist, fading away like smoke in the wind. Gone. Behind me, the creature let out a horrible screeching sound, scraping forward across my floor toward the open door. I didn't look back. I ran. I burst into the stairwell, my footsteps echoing in the concrete space. The stairwell was dark. Most of the lights had burned out or been broken, but I could see wet footprints covering each step, leading downward. They weren't mine. They were too big, too widely spaced. I jumped over them, racing downward as fast as I could without falling. Behind me, the creature's shriek echoed through the stairwell, so loud it made the metal railings rattle and shake. The lights started popping one by one, exploding in showers of glass and sparks as I ran past them. Then I heard it. Something was crawling along the ceiling overhead, keeping pace with me. The stairwell went completely dark. Total darkness surrounded me. A cold breath slid across the back of my neck, and I felt something touch my hair. I burst through the exit door into the parking lot. Moonlight flooded over me. Silence pressed down on everything. I sprinted toward my car, fumbling with my keys, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold them. Before I could unlock the door, I heard it. On my car window. I spun around, gasping. Mr. Calloway's ghost stood there, faint, flickering like a candle about to go out. He didn't speak. He just pointed behind me with a transparent hand. I turned. The creature was dragging itself across the asphalt parking lot, its limbs stretching unnaturally, bending and snapping as it pulled itself forward. It was coming for me. Mr. Calloway's ghost stepped between me and the creature. A cold, shimmering force blasted outward from him, hitting the creature like a wave. It snarled, a horrible wet sound, and its limbs twisted backward, snapping like tree branches. "He's trying to protect me," I whispered, understanding what was happening. Mr. Calloway's voice echoed faintly through the parking lot, like he was speaking from very far away. "It wants a host. Don't open doors. Never open." The creature recovered and lunged forward, its claws reaching for me. Mr. Calloway's ghost moved to block it again. The ghost and the creature collided in the middle of the parking lot. Mr. Calloway was holding it back, his transparent form glowing brighter as he pushed against it. But the creature was tearing through him. Its claws ripped through his ghostly body, shredding the light that held him together. Mr. Calloway's flickering form grew dimmer and dimmer with each attack. He looked at me one last time. Even though his face was fading, I could see the determination in his eyes. "Run, Nightveil," he shouted, his voice cracking and breaking apart. The creature tore through him completely, ripping his ghost in half. Mr. Calloway's spirit shattered like dust caught in the wind, scattering into nothing. He was gone. Truly gone this time. The creature collapsed on the ground, twitching and jerking. A puddle of black water spread out beneath it, thick and oily. For a moment it just lay there, its limbs twitching. Then it began sliding backward across the pavement, its body moving like liquid. It disappeared beneath a row of parked cars, slipping into the shadows. Gone. But not defeated. I knew it wasn't dead. It was just waiting. I jumped into my car, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. I locked the doors, started the engine, and drove. I didn't stop driving until the sun came up. I moved out the next day. I packed everything I owned into boxes, hired movers, and left that building forever. New city, new apartment building, new address. I installed new locks on my door, strong ones with multiple deadbolts. The walls in my new apartment were clean and white. The air was warm. Nothing dragged across the floor at night. For the first time in days, I felt safe. I slept peacefully that first night, all the way through until morning without waking up once. Everything seemed fine, normal, safe, until 3:02 a.m. Something woke me up. I opened my eyes slowly. The room was freezing cold, so cold I could see my breath in the air even though the heater was on. My whole body went rigid. Then it came. Tap, tap, hit. 3 slow knocks. Same rhythm. Same pattern. Same deliberate spacing. But this time the knocking wasn't coming from my door. It was coming from inside the wall next to my bed. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. New voicemail. I picked it up with shaking hands and pressed play. Mr. Calloway's voice whispered through the speaker, broken and distant. "It followed you." The knocking in the wall grew louder. And I realized with absolute horror that no matter where I went, no matter how far I ran, the creature would always find me. Because I had opened the door that night. And now it would never stop knocking. This is Ms. Nightveil reminding you that some doors should never be opened. And some knocks should never be answered. Good night. And lock your doors.